There is a mythology hidden in the western edge of Britain. Not gone, not dead, just buried under hills, lakes, ruined castles, old place names and stories that survived by the thinnest of threads. Before Wales was imagined as a land of choirs, dragons and castles, it was something else entirely. A landscape filled with giants, enchanted animals, impossible cauldrons, cursed kings, magical women, and gateways into another world. A world beneath the earth, across the sea, behind a mound, beneath a lake, a world called Annwn. And what makes this mythology so strange is that it does not behave like the stories most people already know. It is not as orderly as Greek mythology, with its clear hierarchy of gods, and it is not as violent or inevitable as Norse mythology marching toward its final end. It is not quite Tolkien either, although Tolkien himself drew deeply from the Celtic imagination. Welsh mythology feels older than all of that, mistier, less stable. Its heroes do not always understand the world they have entered, and its magic rarely explains itself. Its gods, if they are gods at all, do not sit clearly above everything. They appear as kings, queens, hunters, strangers, sometimes even as enemies. And again, the stories return to the same idea. What happens when the human world touches something older than itself? That is the doorway into Welsh mythology. Not a clean system of gods and monsters, but a landscape of thresholds. A white stag vanishing into the trees, a lake that holds a kingdom beneath its surface, a woman stepping out of a burial mound, a king riding into a place where time, identity, and even death no longer behave the way they should. This video is an introduction to that world, the world of the Mabinogion, the world of Annwn, the world just beyond the edge of ordinary sight. And once you begin to see it, Wales itself starts to feel different, not just as scenery, but as something older, something layered, something that was never entirely meant to be understood. Annwn is often translated simply as the Otherworld, but that translation does not fully capture what the Welsh imagined it to be, because Annwn is not merely a place where the dead go. It is not heaven in the Christian sense. It is not a fiery underworld, and it is not entirely separate from the human world either. In Welsh mythology, the boundary between ordinary reality and the otherworld is astonishingly fragile. Sometimes it seems as though the two worlds exist almost on top of one another, separated not by impossible distance but by perception. A traveller takes the wrong path through the woods. A hunter follows a white stag too far into the trees. A rider crosses a hill at dusk. A fisherman drifts too far across still water. And suddenly, without warning, the world begins to feel different. Not transformed all at once, not opened by magical portals or dramatic visions. Instead, reality itself seems to loosen gradually around the edges. The air becomes strangely still. Mist hangs too long across the hills. Music echoes from somewhere with no visible source. The landscape becomes beautiful in a way that feels slightly unnatural, and the people who enter Annwn often do not realize immediately that they have crossed into somewhere else at all. That uncertainty is one of the things that makes Welsh mythology feel so unique. In many fantasy stories, the otherworld is obvious. A separate kingdom, a hidden realm, a place visibly divided from ordinary life. But Annwn rarely behaves that way. It bleeds softly into the real landscape. It hides beneath lakes, inside burial mounds, beyond the western sea, within ancient forests, or sometimes simply beyond the limits of human understanding. In some stories, beautiful halls appear where no hall existed before. Strangers emerge from the mist already knowing someone's name. The dead speak calmly as though they never truly left the world. And time itself begins to behave strangely. A single evening inside Annwn may conceal the passing of years. Someone may return believing only days have passed, only to discover that the world outside has changed completely. This uncertainty about time appears again and again in Celtic mythology. The otherworld does not obey human rules, not because it is chaotic, but because it belongs to something older. And unlike many mythologies, Annwn is not always portrayed as a place of punishment or fear. Very often, it is described as beautiful, a realm of abundance, of music, of feasting, of eternal youth, a place where disease and suffering no longer exist, which is precisely what makes it dangerous, because the people who encounter Annwn are not usually dragged there against their will. More often, they are tempted, drawn toward it, enchanted by it. The white stag disappearing deeper into the forest, the distant sound of impossible music, the warm light of a hall appearing through the mist, the sense that somewhere just beyond the visible world, there exists another reality more beautiful than the ordinary one they know. And yet, almost every story carries the same warning. Human beings are not meant to remain there forever, because Annwn is not merely another place. It is another condition of reality itself, a world where the boundaries between life and death, memory and myth, time and eternity begin to dissolve. And that feeling, more than anything else, is what gives Welsh mythology its strange and dreamlike power. If Annwn exists so close to the human world, then the question becomes how people recognised its presence at all. And in Welsh mythology, the answer is often through symbols, recurring signs, strange patterns in the landscape, moments where ordinary reality begins to feel subtly altered. Again and again, the stories return to certain images. The white stag, the silent forest, still water, music drifting across empty hillsides, mist gathering where it should not. These are not simply background details in Welsh mythology. They are threshold symbols, signals that somebody is approaching the edge of another reality. And perhaps no image appears more often than the white stag. In Celtic mythology, the stag seems to exist close to the boundary between worlds, not merely an animal, but something older and more symbolic. A creature that appears suddenly, watches silently, and then disappears deeper into the landscape, almost inviting pursuit. The stag rarely behaves like prey. It feels deliberate, calm, untouched by fear. And once someone begins following it, the world itself often starts to change. The forest deepens. Mist gathers between the trees. Familiar paths become uncertain. Sound grows strangely distant. The landscape begins to feel ancient in a way that is difficult to explain. This is one of the things Welsh mythology understands exceptionally well, that certain places can feel spiritually charged long before they feel openly supernatural. The stories do not rush towards spectacle. They create unease gradually, the feeling that reality has shifted slightly out of alignment, that something invisible is watching quietly from beyond the edge of the world. And forests themselves carry enormous symbolic weight in Welsh mythology. Not simply wilderness, but uncertainty. Places where civilization weakens, where direction becomes unreliable, where human beings lose their sense of control over the landscape around them. Even now, deep forests can still produce that strange psychological feeling. Silence becoming too complete, distance becoming difficult to judge, the unsettling sense that the world has become older and less human. Lakes carry a similar feeling throughout Welsh mythology. Still water appears constantly as a boundary between realities, reflective surfaces concealing hidden depth beneath them. Entire kingdoms are said to exist beneath lakes, beautiful halls hidden below dark water, otherworldly figures emerging silently from the shore. And what makes these stories feel so uncanny is how close these places always seem to be. Not distant fantasy realms, but hidden layers of the ordinary landscape itself. A fisherman rows too far into the mist. a traveller hears music drifting across still water at dusk. Someone notices a figure standing beside the lake where nobody stood moments before. And suddenly the world no longer feels entirely stable. Burial mounds carry the same atmosphere. Across Wales, ancient earthworks and grassy hills became associated with entrances into Annwn, places where the boundary between worlds had worn dangerously thin. Even today, many of these places still possess a strange emotional gravity. Windswept hills, standing stones, ancient lakes hidden among mountains, landscapes that feel ancient beyond explanation. And perhaps that is why Welsh mythology still feels so powerful now, because it is tied completely to landscape itself. Not abstract fantasy kingdoms disconnected from reality, but real places, real hillsides, real forests, real lakes filled with mist and silence. The mythology feels rooted beneath the land, as though the stories emerged naturally from the terrain itself. And once those symbols begin appearing in the stories, the white stag, the still water, the distant music, the deepening mist, the audience already understands what they mean. Somebody is approaching the edge of the otherworld, and the closer they move toward it, the less stable reality itself begins to feel. But eventually the stories stop hinting at the otherworld from a distance, and instead they introduce the beings who seem to belong to it. Not gods in the way most modern audiences expect. Not distant creators ruling clearly from above the world. The figures within Welsh mythology often feel far more ambiguous than that. Beautiful, powerful, ancient, but difficult to fully understand. And perhaps no figure represents Annwn more clearly than Arawn, the king of the otherworld itself. When he first appears in Welsh mythology, he does not resemble a demon or dark lord. In fact, one of the strangest things about Arawn is how calm and reasonable he often seems. In the first branch of the Mabinogion, Pwyll, Prince of Dyfed, accidentally interferes with Arawn during a hunt, and instead of immediately punishing him, Arawn offers a strange solution. The two men exchange places. Pwyll takes Arawn's appearance and rules Annwn in his place for an entire year, while Arawn walks among the human world disguised as Pwyll. And what makes the story feel so unusual is how quietly surreal it becomes. An entire kingdom accepts the exchange without question. Identity itself becomes uncertain. The boundary between ruler and stranger begins to dissolve. Even time starts to feel strangely dreamlike. And when Pwyll finally returns from Annwn, he's no longer entirely the same person who entered it. That transformation appears constantly in Welsh mythology. The otherworld changes people, not always physically, sometimes psychologically, spiritually, as though crossing the boundary between worlds alters the way somebody sees reality itself. And Arawn is only one example. There is also Rhiannon, one of the most mysterious figures in Welsh mythology. She first appears riding a white horse, calm and impossibly graceful, moving across the landscape with a strange, supernatural stillness. And no matter how hard riders pursue her, they cannot catch her, not because she rides quickly, but because the world itself seems to bend strangely around her. Rhiannon feels less like a conventional character and more like a manifestation of the otherworld itself. Beautiful, distant, and impossible to fully possess. Even her arrival carries the atmosphere of a dream. The same feeling appears again with Cerid Wen, an enchantress associated with transformation, knowledge, and the famous cauldron of inspiration. In later fantasy stories, magic often behaves like a tool, controlled, predictable, almost scientific, but magic in Welsh mythology feels older than that. More symbolic, more dangerous. Transformation happens constantly throughout these stories. People become animals, identities shift, time loosens, boundaries dissolve, and underneath all of it lies the same recurring idea, that reality itself is less stable than human beings would like to believe. This is one of the reasons Welsh mythology feels so different from modern fantasy. The stories are not primarily about conquering evil or saving the world. They are about encounters with mystery, moments where human beings come into contact with something ancient, beautiful, and impossible to completely understand. And even the rulers of Annwn themselves rarely feel entirely good or evil. Instead, they feel like beings shaped by a reality operating according to different rules from our own. Older rules, dreamlike rules, the logic of myth rather than ordinary life. And because of that, the figures within Welsh mythology often linger in the imagination long after the stories themselves end, not as superheroes, not as villains, but as something stranger, as though they belong to a world that still exists somewhere beyond the edge of ordinary reality, waiting quietly beneath the hills, forests, lakes, and mist of Wales itself. And perhaps that is why Welsh mythology continues to feel so strangely powerful, even now. Not because it presents a world that is fully explained, but because it presents one that never entirely can be. There is always the sense that something remains just beyond human understanding, something ancient lingering beneath the surface of reality itself. In many modern fantasy stories, mystery exists to be solved. The unknown becomes something to conquer, map, categorize, or defeat. But Welsh mythology approaches mystery very differently. It treats the unknown almost with reverence. The stories rarely suggest that human beings are fully capable of mastering the world around them. Instead, they move through landscapes already shaped by older presences and older rules, forces that do not always reveal themselves directly, but quietly influence the edges of reality. And perhaps that is why these stories remain so emotionally resonant, because they awaken a feeling many people still recognize instinctively, even now. The sense that certain places feel ancient in ways that are difficult to explain, that some landscapes seem to carry memory inside them, that the world itself may possess hidden depth beyond what modern life usually allows us to notice. Welsh mythology understands that emotion extraordinarily well, not through endless battles or spectacle, but through atmosphere, silence, suggestion, the unsettling feeling that reality itself may be layered with meanings human beings only partially perceive. And that is why Annwn still feels haunting, centuries later, not simply as a fantasy kingdom, but as an idea, the possibility that another world might exist quietly beside our own, hidden not behind impossible distance, but beneath perception itself. And perhaps that is the real power of Welsh mythology. It changes the way the landscape feels. The hills stop feeling like scenery. The forests stop feeling empty. The lakes stop feeling ordinary. Everything begins to feel older, stranger, more alive with memory and story, as though somewhere beyond the edge of what we understand, the old world is still there. And that's it for this first video on the Welsh Mythology channel. Thank you very much for listening. If you'd like to continue exploring these stories, creatures, places, and ancient traditions with me, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with anyone else you think might find it interesting. There is still a great deal more of Wales's mythology left to uncover. But for now, thanks for watching.